There are famous people, and then there are forces of nature. Prince Rogers Nelson wasn't just another celebrity. He was one of the most unique artists to ever live. Singer, songwriter, producer, multi-instrumentalist, performer. A man who could walk into a room and completely change the energy without even saying much. And decades later, people are still trying to understand him. But beneath the music, the fashion, and the mystery, there was something deeper about Prince. Discipline, focus, creative intensity. Today we're talking about 10 reasons why Prince represented the mindset of sexual discipline and creative transmutation, and what modern men can learn from him. Now, before we begin, this video is not claiming to know every private detail of Prince's life. This is about the principles he represented, the energy, the focus, the work ethic, the self-control required to build the kind of legacy he built. Because greatness on that level never happens accidentally. Section 1. Who Prince really was. Before we get into the list, let's understand who Prince actually was. Prince was born in Minneapolis in 1958. From a young age, music completely consumed him. And when I say consumed him, I mean it. This wasn't casual talent. This was obsession. Prince taught himself multiple instruments. He wrote constantly, practiced constantly, created constantly. By the time most people were wasting hours every day distracted by meaningless entertainment, Prince was already sharpening his craft. That's the first thing disciplined people do differently. They become obsessed with building something. Reason number 1, he transmuted emotion into art. One thing that separated Prince from other artists was his ability to transform emotion into creation. He didn't just feel deeply, he used those emotions. Pain became music, desire became performance, and loneliness became lyrics. That's one of the most powerful lessons behind sexual discipline and transmutation. Energy is meant to be redirected. Most people today waste emotional energy. They numb it, escape it, distract themselves from it. But creators, warriors, disciplined men, they channel it. And Prince clearly understood this at an extremely high level. You can hear it in albums like Purple Rain. The emotions feel alive. That kind of artistry doesn't come from being spiritually asleep. Think about this honestly. How much energy does the average person waste every week? Scrolling, lusting, overstimulating their brain, constantly chasing dopamine. Now imagine redirecting even half of that energy toward purpose, toward fitness, business, creativity, spiritual growth. That's where transformation begins. Reason number 2, his work ethic was almost unreal. People who worked with Prince often described him as relentless. He would stay in the studio for unbelievably long hours, sometimes all night, sometimes recording multiple songs in one session, sometimes playing nearly every instrument himself. That level of output is rare. And here's the truth most people don't want to hear. Extreme creativity usually requires extreme discipline. Talent alone is not enough. Prince wasn't just gifted, he was locked in. While the world was partying, Prince was creating. While other people were distracted, Prince was building a legacy. That's the mindset of transmutation. You take intense inner energy and direct it into something productive. Reason number 3, he protected his focus. Focus is one of the rarest things in the modern world. Most people cannot focus deeply anymore. Their attention is constantly fragmented. Notifications, entertainment, temptation, noise. But Prince operated differently. When he entered creative mode, he disappeared into it. Hours would pass, because disciplined people understand something important. Attention is power. Where your attention goes, your life goes. And men practicing sexual discipline often notice something interesting. As they stop overstimulating themselves constantly, their focus becomes sharper, their mind becomes quieter, and their creativity increases. Reason number 4, he had powerful presence. Prince wasn't physically huge. He wasn't the stereotypical intimidating alpha male, but his presence was massive. Why? Because true presence is energetic. It's internal. Confidence is not about being loud. It's about certainty. Prince carried himself like someone who knew exactly who he was. And disciplined men often develop that same quiet intensity. Not because they're trying to dominate others, but because they've stopped being controlled by themselves. Reason number 5, he refused to be controlled by trends. One thing that made Prince legendary was his individuality. He didn't follow culture, he created culture. That takes courage. Most people are terrified of standing out. They want approval, validation, acceptance. But Prince embraced being different. And there's a connection between discipline and individuality. Because when you stop constantly seeking pleasure and validation from the world, you become less dependent on other people's opinions, and you start thinking for yourself. Reason number 6, he directed passion into creation instead of chaos. A lot of gifted people self-destruct. Too much indulgence, too much excess, too much distraction. But Prince consistently poured himself into his art. Music became the outlet. And this is one of the biggest lessons for modern men. Your energy needs direction. If you don't direct sexual energy intentionally, it can become destructive. Restlessness, addiction, mental fog, lack of purpose. But when redirected properly, that same energy becomes fuel. Fuel for ambition, fuel for creativity, and fuel for transformation. Reason number 7, he was spiritually aware. Later in life, Prince became increasingly focused on spiritual questions and deeper meaning. And regardless of where someone stands religiously, disciplined people usually begin searching for higher purpose eventually. Because material pleasure alone becomes empty after a while. Many men today are trapped chasing temporary highs, but purpose gives discipline meaning. Without purpose, self-control feels pointless. Prince seemed to understand that life was bigger than fame, bigger than entertainment. There was depth to him, mystery, reflection. Reason number 8, he understood masculine and feminine energy. One thing that made Prince fascinating was his balance of energies. He could be intense yet calm, bold yet mysterious, powerful yet artistic. He didn't fit into simplistic categories, and disciplined men often become more balanced emotionally because they are no longer being dragged around by constant impulses. Instead of becoming emotionally numb, they become more intentional, more centered, more aware. Reason number 9, he guarded his creative energy fiercely. Prince famously fought for ownership of his music and artistic freedom. He valued creative control deeply. Why? Because creators understand something. Energy is sacred. Time is sacred. Attention is sacred. Not everybody deserves access to your mind and spirit. Modern culture constantly drains people. Endless entertainment, endless stimulation, and endless distraction. But disciplined people protect their energy carefully. Prince seemed to understand that instinctively. Reason number 10, he left behind a timeless legacy. Years after his passing, people still talk about Prince with awe, not because he chased comfort, but because he created relentlessly. That's legacy. And this is the core lesson of sexual discipline. You can spend your energy endlessly on temporary pleasure, or you can invest it into building something timeless. A legacy, a purpose, a mission. Prince chose creation, and that's why the world still remembers him. Now let me ask you something. What are you doing with your energy? Are you building or escaping? Are you creating or consuming? Because every day your habits are shaping who you become. Most people never realize how powerful focused energy really is. But the men who master themselves change their lives completely. Prince wasn't legendary because he lived an ordinary life. He stood apart. He created fearlessly, worked obsessively, protected his vision, and transformed emotion into art that still moves people decades later. And maybe that's the deeper lesson here. Sexual discipline is not about becoming cold. It's about becoming powerful, focused, creative, intentional. It's about taking the energy inside you and turning it into something meaningful, something lasting, something unforgettable. Stay disciplined, stay creative, and build your legacy.